Now, the Tema Fishing Processing Company can open for operations after the first test of 624 workers came negative. That's according to head of disease surveillance at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Esiedu-Bekwem. He also said the service has begun aggressive contact tracing for 7 workers who tested positive in the company after an initial 695 workers came in contact with a COVID-19 patient, forcing the factory to shut down. This came up at the last COVID-19 news briefing a while ago.
And then to get a broader view of what is happening in the factory, that has a population of 1,300. They tested everybody in the factory. So what came out was that initially it was 533, but finally it was 693 that tested positive, 695 that tested positive in the facility. So the rest were negative. So what was our approach to handling this? And the idea was immediately the factory was closed down. And then it was assessed to look at the gaps that exist in such a facility. And one thing which was very obvious that for such a facility, you could see that the employees were much more than the space. That was one obvious thing. The other thing was that the social or physical distancing was a challenge. Then they also have issue about, they have a canteen, and you can see that social distancing is not also being practiced in the canteen. So they have a table that 6 people sit on. So it tells you that there's so much closeness. They also have a bus that carries them around, and social distancing is also not practiced in that bus. Then they have what they call a turnstile. It's like before you enter the factory, you have to go through it. So it's an entity that can actually transmit infection among a group. So they also have a login system whereby you have to put your finger on. So those are all predisposing factors that can make you get the infection. So going forward, the idea is how do we look at the situation in the factory, and then how do we manage the cases and the contacts? So let me say that as I speak today, for the 695 positive cases, the result that has come is that 624 are negative and only 7 are positive. So it tells you that 95% of the people who were positive are now negative. So now we are trying to move the 7 to our isolation center in Pentecost facility. But let me say that these are all asymptomatic persons.
Now, the Obuasi municipality remains the hot spot for the Ashanti region. Ghana Health Service has also begun mass testing for high-risk groups such as drivers, traders, etc. Now, we'll bring you that soundbite a bit later. As of today, a total of 5,918 cases have been recorded in the country, with 1,754 recoveries and 31 deaths. Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Abuaje, tells us more. Apologies for that slight technical hiccup. We'll take a few messages. When we come back, 3 teacher unions resist plans by GES to reopen schools. Thanks for staying with us. Now, 3 teacher unions are resisting plans by the Ghana Education Service to reopen school in June. We'll bring you more on that story a bit later. But before that, let's hear the Ghana Health Service Director General, Dr. Patrick Abuaje, who gives the reasons behind the increase in coronavirus cases locally.
Greater Accra contributed 108 new cases, and almost half of these cases were from Accra Metro, Korle Klottey, Ayawaso West, and 12, and which had also reported 12. That tells you that the number of districts reporting huge numbers in Greater Accra has continued to come down. Ashanti region recorded about 63 new cases, and 90% of them came from Accra Metro. Kumasi Metro reported 19, and Obuasi reported 38 cases. Volta region reported 7 new cases, mainly from about 4 districts. Ho had 1, Hohoi represented 3, Pando 1, Akachi 1, and Ketu South also showed 1. Central region reported 2 new cases. OT reported 2 new cases. Eastern region reported 1 new case, and all the other regions reported no case. We have a total of 1,754 recoveries as we speak now. The rest of the cases are well and responding to treatment. 5 of them can be classified as critically ill, but nobody is yet on ventilator, which means that it's probably not life-threatening. We have so far recorded a total of 31 deaths across the country. The last time we gave an update, and we believe that we will be able to do the next time. The next time we'll do more updates on the deaths in probably the next briefing. Yes, so the next slide is just a breakdown of exactly what I have said, which shows the maps, the number of cumulative positives across the country, and then a total of 183. So it shows you exactly where the cases have come from. Western and Western North, who were reporting cases of late, have also stopped reporting cases. The next slide will show you how the distribution of our cases among districts across the country. So you can see that Savannah, Bono East, and other places, Ahafo has no case yet. Bono has only reported 1 imported case. Ashanti is concentrated mainly in Kumasi and its environs and Obuasi. Eastern region is in the lower Menya based on the camp and a few sporadic cases in a few districts. Western is located in the Takoradi area. And Central region has a high dose caseload in Elmina, which we are looking at. And of course, Greater Accra carries the largest burden, mainly in the Accra Metro and its environments. You see that if you go to the next slide, you can see for Greater Accra, I'm just concentrating on the 2 main regions that provide more of the cases. Greater Accra, you can see that it's all Adan East, Adan West, Shai Oshidoku, Ningo Pram Pram. So far, nothing happening there. But we have them in Accra Metro and the district that have been mentioned, that has been displayed on the board. If you go to the next slide, which is Ashanti region, you can see that the concentration is mainly in Kumasi and its environs, and then you have the Obuasi come up. You have a few sporadic cases in Santachim and Adansi South area. I think we've been talking a lot about recoveries. So the next slide will give us a bit insight on recoveries, how we say in Africa. The total case reported in Africa, from the last time we checked, showed about 89,000 cases in Africa and 38.8% recoveries. We have the Ghana ranks quite low. We have 29.6% recoveries, but we have countries with 44.4% recoveries. Obviously, there are different parameters that are used in measuring this. Next slide. You have you can go to the next slide, the same repeat slide. You can also have for West Africa, in terms of the ranking, you can see not necessarily in ranking, Ghana has 29.6%, but we have Niger with 77.2%. You also need to look at the number of cases. Now, when it comes to the recoveries, as I've been saying, when someone is ill, if you do not die, the life course or the nature of the disease, within 3 weeks, you'll recover. And I'm sure most of us have the experience. So from the beginning, when we have 1, 2, 3, you are not expecting any major recoveries in the first 1 month. After which, they will come. But as you have more cases, 3 weeks later, you should expect more cases recovering. And so that's why you're having an exponential increase in the number of cases. If you go to the regional breakdown, you see that Ahafo, of course, they have no case, so they have no recovery. Ashanti has had 213 recoveries, and that's about 24%.
Now, still on COVID, authorities at the Ho Teaching Hospital have closed down the surgical ward for disinfection following a suspected positive case reported among one of the staff. 41 cases have so far been recorded in the whole of the Volta region in the latest number of national figures released by the Ghana Health Service. Correspondent Fred Kwame Asare reports the current situation at the regional hospital has increased anxiety and fear among the staff. Amos Jar joins us on the phone. He is Public Relations Officer for the hospital. Mr. Jab, thanks for joining us. When did the hospital discover that your staff member had been infected, and when was the closure carried out?
Thank you, my brother, and thanks for having me. Good afternoon to your cherished listeners. Like you said, the surgical theater was closed temporarily on Sunday because a staff who works in that department tested positive for COVID-19 through general surveillance, because she's, according to our checks, she's not been feeling too well, a bit of sore throat and flu-like symptoms from around the feet of this man. So she came to the facility for treatment, and through general surveillance, they decided to check for COVID, and the results came back and she's positive. So we have to close that department, that side of the surgical theater where she works temporarily. And then, so Sunday it was done, and then Monday the place was disinfected. As we speak now, they are cleaning the place up for normal work to resume.
When will normal work resume?
After the cleanup. Hopefully by close of day, they should be done with the cleanup.
The patients who would have gone there, where are they being treated? For the moment, we don't have emergency surgeries at hand. All we have are elective. So once they are elective, they can be rescheduled. So we are just hoping that an emergency doesn't come in. But should that happen, we will find alternatives to deal with that, because there are other theaters in the facility where that can be carried out after the patient has been actually examined to know the extent of exposure. That will not happen to any staff. The staff members who worked with this patient, where are they now? How many contacts have you traced?
Yeah, like I said, the surgical theater, they have, in her department, she works with three people. Three people. So those three are on self-quarantine now. Their samples have been taken for testing. Now, there are other members of the surgical department who we can say they are secondary contact. There to tomorrow morning, their samples will be taken just to, as a precautionary measure, to know that at least nobody is left out. Because with COVID, even though we are dealing with it, it has a psychological effect as well. So people think that they are exposed. So you need to take them. So the secondary contacts, their samples will be taken tomorrow morning. The primary, they have been taken care of, and so they are in self-quarantine now. Are these secondary contacts also in self-quarantine? No. Why not in self-quarantine? Come again? Why not? Why are they not in self-quarantine? Because secondary contacts are not as dangerous as a primary contact. Even though we are treating them with the same, we are taking them through the same process, because they don't come directly in contact with the person that tested positive, but it's one department, so we are just being precautious. But they are coming to work still. Yeah, they are here. They are working. Mr. Jha, in the Temafishin factory case, 533 people were infected by one person. Surely they were not all primary contacts. You know the way in the Pioneer Food Council, if I may use that word, we are not told whether all the 513 are primary or secondary. We are not told that. But what I'm saying is that we have departments within the unit where each worker is stationed. So the 3 that are close to where the person works, they have been asked to self-quarantine as their samples were taken. Now the rest, the samples have been taken tomorrow morning, but we don't think they are in a critical moment, or as say they are not primary contact. So work must go on as we and they are even in the ones who are even doing the cleaning. Part of those who are doing the cleaning for services to resume in the facility some time later in the day.
Mr. Jah, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome, my brother.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The total value of mobile money accounts held with commercial banks at the end of March this year saw a significant increase. Its value now stands at 3.9 billion cedis compared with 2.7 billion for the same period last year. George Rafe has the breakdown.
These figures were captured in the latest data from the Bank of Ghana covering mobile money transactions in the country. It shows that in terms of transactions done on just mobile money, the value reached 33 billion Ghana cedis ending March this year. This represents a significant increase compared to 27 billion Ghana cedis recorded in March 2019. The service currently employs about 239,000 persons that have registered with the various telecom operators as agents, up from 189,000 in the same period last year. Latest numbers may support claims that the country might be ready for going cashless, looking at the volume and the value of transactions on mobile money platforms and the fact that majority of institutions now would want to explore electronic channels and means to transfer money to other parties or call them their loved ones. Government, for instance, has announced that from June this year, payment for government transactions will be done through electronic means. This is part of efforts to go cashless as a country. The same data from the Bank of Ghana showed that almost 2,000 transactions were done on the mobile money interoperability, valued at 166 million Ghana cedis, ending March this year. The number of debit cards issued by banks stands at 4.5 million as at the end of March this year. While for many, the numbers may show that the country might be ready for us to move towards an era where little cash is used in the various financial transactions.
Now, the CEO of the Chamber of Mines, Suleiman Koni, says mining companies will want a review of aspects of the mining law with particular attention on the ratification of large-scale concessions. He says this is a major drawback for mining companies that want to either expand or set up altogether in the country. In 2007, 21 concessions were issued without going through Parliament, and the issue is currently before the Supreme Court.
But within the mining industry, the interpretation of ratification is not the same as prior approval. That is our understanding. Because if you consider the Constitution, it talks about, in some instances, it talks about prior approval. In other instances, it talks about ratification. So if the framers of the Constitution meant that ratification meant prior approval, they would have said so. In any case, there's still no timeline around ratification. There's no timeline at all around ratification. Again, if you look at the law itself, it requires that mining companies should start production within 2 years of grant of lease. So you are racing against the clock. Yeah. So you see, so mining companies are caught in a bind that if you don't start production with 2 years, government has the right to cancel your lease or suspend your lease. And at the same time, you also have this ratification. And that is why, for us, there's a kind of flexibility around ratification. If we had our own way, ratification would be done prior to commencement of mining. Our expectation is that once government grants the leases to mining companies, duty bearers should actually take this to Parliament. Because what companies cannot do is to present these leases to Parliament.
If you had the opportunity to change Act 703, anything in it today, what will the chamber want to change?
Wow, that's a big one. But I think for us, the critical one, which is keeping the whole industry awake at night, has to do with the question of ratification. And that's a big one. And we would rather have some more certainty around ratification.
And there's more coming up at the top of the hour on the marketplace. Sports is up next.
Time for sports here, and we get straight into it. And an audit report on the activities of the National Sports Authority and the Ministry of Youth and Sports by the Auditor General, cited by Joy Sports, has revealed that the NSA misapplied monies meant for the fixing of seats at the Baba Yara Stadium. According to the report, the NSA misapplied 180,000 Ghana cedis 494 meant to fix broken seats at the Baba Yara Stadium when the Ghana Education Service used the facility for their inter-college sports competition. Now, even though the amount was paid, according to the report, the seats had not been fixed during the audit. The NSA had used the money instead to organize the 2017 Sports Festival. The report has therefore recommended the monies must be refunded. Auditors also noted that the Sports Ministry did not have a policy on operations and maintenance of the stadia, and the NSA did not have a plan to operate and maintain the various stadia. Now, the report indicates management of the Sports Ministry and the NSA as well did not have monitoring and evaluation strategies to evaluate the performance of the various stadia to ensure the physical and financial sustainability. So as promised, tonight we come your way with a very special edition of the PM Express, where we've got a fantastic panel. We've got Robert Marawa, formerly of Supersport, now with Marawa TV. We've got Ace English Premier League commentators John Champion and Peter Jury, and President of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, Kwabena Yawad, joining us. We're looking forward to having a fantastic chat. And just to tell you how prepared we are, my colleague Gary Alsmith, who's the main anchor for the show, was having a little testing session with Ace English Premier League commentator John Champion.